Good afternoon, everyone. We've got a lot of strong women in the Kimberley doing caring for country work, and it's great to have their support here. I'll introduce first myself and then a couple of key speakers and hand the mic around for everybody to introduce themselves. My name's Ariadne Gorring, and I've worked on and off with the Kimberley Land Council for about since 1997. So I've had lots of jobs in that time. One of the biggest jobs that I worked on was a consultation process for a National Heritage Listing in the Kimberley. And although it was a very intense project, I had the support of a lot of great women, so we're here to tell our story today. First, I'd like to introduce Irene Davey. She's a senior cultural advisor for the Kimberley Land Council Board and a strong advocate of women's rights, as well as Pansy Nolgett, who's the Women's Chair for the Kimberley Law and Culture Centre. And all our other great women here, I might pass the mic around and they can introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Rosemary Nanjo. I'm a Nyunyal girl.
Hello everybody, my name is Annette Kogalo and I'm a Walmajari Jualan human.
Hello everybody, my name is Bernard Angus and I'm a Bari Jawi Gorring Ranger, that means Gorring means woman.
Hello everybody, I'm Merle Carter, and on behalf of all the Kimberley women here, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on whose country we stand, the Larrakia people, and thank them for having us. I'm Merle, I'm Burrong, the Kununurra area, Nangala.
Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Bengu and I'm a Karajari Ranger, or Women's Ranger.
My name is Shuli Spratt, I'm a Karajari Ranger.
My name is Cecilia Tigan, I'm Bari Jawi Orange Ranger.
Hi, my name is Deborah Sibasada, I'm a Bari Jawi Orange Ranger. I'm from Dudgeon community.
Hi, my name is Chloe Nolgett. I'm from the Gorring tribe, which is Willigan up our way.
Hello everybody, my name is Kay Cox. I'm one of the Kunyandi women.
Kona mayal gara namburin, Maroko Bordago Kungar Balap. Jebangan Lar Kenyana Amburin Jerboro, Ngangan Malamangan. Jebarin Oran Yingadin, Kembleyon. What I said is, good afternoon, everybody from all over the world. I'd like to pay my respect to past and present elders and present people that are here, young people that we have to pass our knowledge on. And with this WIN forum, I hope we can have a big network of, having people work together. It's only now that we have the opportunity to embrace each other as people. Now we're going to talk about the heritage.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a bit about the Kimberley region first?
In the Kimberley, we've heard speakers like Wayne and Peter Yu that come from the Kimberley. We do have 28 languages and we have 18 native title claims. Different, but all connected, and how the Kimberley Land Council was formed through our strong leaders in the past that mining people want to come and take over our country, like we hear about everywhere else, how they did that. And we said, no, we don't want that, so we fought. A lot of our elders have passed on, both men and women that spoke. But as women standing here, I actually wanted the women to come and stand here with me because we have the same goals, because Kimberley is a big area and we all have the same issues and how we support each other in things we do.
So in 2008, the Australian government announced that it would assess the West Kimberley for cultural and natural heritage values to see if there are any values that were of outstanding significance to the nation. National Heritage Listing is a step before a World Heritage Listing and a very similar assessment process. At the time when this announcement was made, the Kimberley Land Council negotiated an agreement with the Australian government to ensure there was a robust consultation process that was based on the free, prior and informed consent of traditional owners from the Kimberley to any heritage listing. This was really important because at the time in 2009, the Australian government had just signed up to the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. At the beginning of the process, when we first started having the meetings, the government sort of said, well, you know, we're thinking about a number of iconic sites that would make up this listing, and those sites were well known to non-Aboriginal people and places that were often visited by the tourists that came to the region. When we got together with traditional owners, they said very strongly that our country and our stories are intertwined and our cultural landscape is more than a series of iconic sites on a map.
So we just didn't want a certain area to be recognized. We wanted to blanket all over the Kimberley because there are sites that women have and only women can speak on. And that's important to us as we stand here now, where we have a very strong culture. Like I said, there's 18 different languages, and we have to pay our respect to each other. We cannot go and talk on someone else's country.
So that red line there on the map shows the assessment area that was identified, and it covered 14 different native title groups. And the KLC, or the Land Council's responsibility, was to make sure that all the affected traditional owners would have a say in the decision-making process. It was quite a big job to work out what the governance of that decision-making and that consultation process. And the direction that we were given by our senior leaders, our senior cultural advisors, was that we needed to go and meet with each native title group, talk with them about the idea of this heritage listing, and if they wanted to be involved in discussions about the potential to National Heritage List areas within the Kimberley. So myself and a lawyer and a representative of the Australian government and a team from the KLC, along with our senior leadership group, went to 14 different native title groups and talked about what is National Heritage Listing and what does it really mean. From that, 2 representatives were nominated, a man and a woman in most cases, from each native title group, and they sat on what we call the Traditional Owner Advisory Group. And in those advisory group meetings, we talked more about what National Heritage actually meant for people, and also about the stories that were really important and needed protection. We then had 7 researchers that took the direction from that advisory group and then went about and did the research and writing up in what we call the Guttier way, the whitefella way, of how you make those values fit and meet the requirements or the criteria, as they call them, of the National Heritage. Once they'd done the research, they came back to the advisory group said, this is the work that we've done, this is how we've represented the stories. Is that right? Are there things that we need to change? And so that was quite a long discussion just to make sure that the details and what the researchers and the expert consultants were writing was what people wanted. We then went back to each of the native title groups under the direction of the senior leadership group. We did that in cultural blocks, so regions within the Kimberley where people are connected. And we reported back to the bigger groups, the wider group, about those stories that had been identified and got that authorisation from the full group to have those stories nominated. So it was a very comprehensive, meeting-intensive consultation process, but it was needed to make sure that everybody had a say and that there was a proper process for free, prior and informed consent to any listing of cultural and natural values.
The role of the women in the process, we talked about the National Heritage Listing consultation meeting, included men and women, and breakout sessions. The women mainly focused on the importance of protecting and celebrating stories, culture, natural and historical. Men were more focused on potential impacts on native title rights and interest, recognition that to have strong management right for traditional owners to look after country, best to have cultural values recognized. And I think it's still not recognized in some areas because a lot of the stories, like I say, are still out there. In getting recognition for natural heritage, it's European involvement. It is not about our history, and it should be recognized strongly right across the board, no matter where you are from. Why should it have European involvement to get recognized? You going to show this?
Yeah, do you want me to talk through it?
Yeah.
So, like we said earlier, people said our country's not just dots on a map. Our culture's not just dots on a map. It's everything's connected and intertwined. And if we're going to have this heritage listing, it needs to be like a big blanket. So then we had the challenge of identifying the stories that make up that big blanket to meet the National Heritage criteria, which is quite a comprehensive sort of comparative analysis process. So the stories that came out from the consultation meetings, the big story was really about resistance, survival and adaptation, and Kimberley people's ability to survive when non-Aboriginal people came into the region and people were stolen from their families and shifted off their country, and how they resisted and adapted to a new way of being and knowing how to live with European people in their country. The other stories that came out were about the double log raft, the Dawa.
The Galwa, we call it in my language. The Wanjanawungut, the Goong in Balangara area, the Fitzroy River cultural landscape,
And the pearl shell.
and the pearl shell.
So they were big stories that the researchers went away and researched. And this next bit of video is Irene and another of our women, Esther, talking about how people resisted and the resistance after people were moved off pastoral stations or worked on pastoral stations and were moved into missions. So I'll play the video and you can hear that story.
Kono mo yan Irene nganga. Pada yon orang. Yebedan jawal koralan.
Oh no.
Ibidi kon. Aru jari jawal velon jon.
It's too long.
Tarkalam jawal jar. Ambrun jara. Hello, good morning. My name is Irene Davey. I just said that
That's right from the beginning.
the story that you're going to listen to is true stories about our people across the Kimberleys. The senior leadership group went around and met with the claim groups within the area and just letting them know about how we can try and record some of our stories, and if they were interested in telling some of the stories. Esther, Bevan and I talked about the resistance, survival and adaptation theme. Just, you know, what it was really like for our people adapting to the new way of living and surviving. So that's just some of the stories and histories about right across the assessment area, and it's just very important for you to understand some of it.
When we talk about the resistance, you're speaking about the cattle industry, specifically, I suppose, or more importantly, the East Kimberleys and the Fitzroy Valley area, when the pastoralists came across from Queensland and New South Wales for grazing country for their cattle.
Some of our leadership men,
No.
cultural advisors, talk about
Sorry,
their
this is
experience with
in the,
the
yeah.
pastoral industry.
We might just stop that. Okay, cool. Sorry, we thought we'd been tricky and cut the video, but it didn't work. So we might go on to the second video, which I'll ask Pansy to introduce. And this is about the Wanjanungud cultural landscape.
Hello everybody. I'm Wellingen Wongod Wanjina people, us, me and my daughter, all the way from back ranges. So what we do, all the women go out to, we have our own meeting, all the women take
Just
all the young
wait to...
girls. I take them out, take them out, all the kids, the girls. Boys go separate and women, we go separate. That's what we do in our culture. We all culture people in this table, what in this room. Yeah. Mani yang ari manda? Dawan. Kanda wala burro. Bungay, yela. Daingum bongon. Nyaingere walo, ngenenga yela. Manda. Yo. Tiale. That's all I can say. Sorry. Thank you.
Talk about the Wanjina Wongod cultural landscape that covers most of the North Kimberley, the claims of Daman-Mangari, Wongod and Willigan areas.
What we were singing today, Junba, that's that Wanaluri. That's Wanaluri is a Marinyan Wanjina. That's the one Wanaluri been around people in Gibriba. we call it. Even round them, big wind been come. They was making fun of Wanjina, and not Wanjina, Dumbi the owl. I think you might be heard about that. And the two little boys been come plucking feather of that Dumbi. And then Wanjina been come along. See this Dumbi along the ground. Them two little kids was poking in with finifex, got like needle. And then big rain been come around those people. That's yamal, you call it like quicksand when that wind been come around all the people. Anyway, this is not my story, but anyway, I say it now today. I can tell people back there what I was telling story, singing this song. Thank you.
Well, cobras come from the Wungut area. You know, people dream and they sing it or perform it. Our Wungut it's in the cave, it's in the seabed, it's on the stone. That's where our Wungut area is, and in the river. And we have names, we have our Aboriginal names from our Wungut, where our father has found our spirit as a child. Comes from our Wungut, and then our Aboriginal name is named after the area where our father found us. So, I was a crocodile, salty. That's why my name is called Iwambur. It's my Aboriginal name. Because of the crocodile, it's called Iwambur. And that's in Langi, near Montgomery. That's where my Wungut is. So whenever I going up the coast, I speak to the crocodile. They know what I'm talking about. The birds know what I'm talking about. They know. Because the land, the language, and the living things that are on the earth knows what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter me, but other languages too, across the Kimberley. They know what I'm talking about.
Do we want to go to the second video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You want to say something?
Sorry about that, but we thought we were going to cut it, but it's not. That's good that you saw that anyway. So you can see how much hard work the KLC had to do to meet with everybody. Are we showing another video?
Yeah.
Just
Are we
a short
ready
one.
for the second one? Yeah. Great. So the second one's about the resistance and the survival of Aboriginal people across the Kimberley region.
Yeah, no money. For a long time, and after we see that money, £1, £2 after that, it come in.
Yeah, when the equal wages legislation came in, a lot of our people moved away from the stations into towns, and on the fringes of towns, that's when the ration camps and some small missions were started. And from there, people moved and got houses in the major towns. But it was still hard. But, and they still went back to their bush for their cultural practices.
And how very different then people had to go somewhere, and it was usually to somebody else's country. And after a while, the government, and I suppose the rest of Australia, thought, well, we just can't leave them there, for we sort of drifted onto the fringes of towns that were in existence at that time.
I had little kids there in Derby, and Derby was the main port for Sunday Island. I mean, you look at missions like Fortune and Coming people, where they were taken away and put in the fringes of Derby's marsh again. But our men, our elders in those days were very strong. So we had dancing on the marsh area there in Derby. And then our elders said, we can't live here. This is not what it was like for us, you know. We still had the culture inside it. You know, one of my uncles was in Bangrang. He was sick. They said he had leprosy. When my father went to visit him, he said to my father, like, even with the customs, you know, they never spoke and called each other by name. It was Bargiban. He said, go to that bulgan, that tree in that creek, that certain area, that tree is there. Go and cut it to that part. When my dad did that, my uncle, all that marking that everybody, doctor said it was leprosy, just came clean. So that's the kind of thing, you know. Not all people have that connection to the tree, the ochre, the sand, or whatever, or the stone. People that thought they knew what was good for us, but really, that's the worst thing they did, was take people away from their country.
So the only phenomenon, but it was one of the most telling, was the stolen generation and how they were herded onto missions, if you like. But the resilience of Aboriginal people and how they survived it all, and how with groups like Bardi people, you survive and then you adapt. This is our country. We've had enough. We're going to fight for our country. And one of the greatest examples to me as an Aboriginal person is when the Nukunba, when the drilling came and they wanted to look for oil there, and how the Kimberley people got up, you know, sort of rose up and resisted that. But and it showed the rest of this country and the rest of the world that, you know, that we weren't so just sitting down and... But one of the greatest things I look at that came out of that Nukunba resistance, or whatever movement you'd like, from that came one of the three most powerful organizations in the Kimberleys, which is the Kimberley Land Council, the Kimberley Language Resource Centre, and the Kimberley Aboriginal Law and Culture.
My brother-in-law, Frank Davey, talks about the pearl shell and the significance of it to the body mob and the impact on...
So as you can see with our videos, there's a lot of stories, but still more stories. Like everyone here sitting in the room here, we still have to make sure we pass it on. Some of us, we have to make sure it's kept away from other people that don't understand it much, but if they want to learn, we do share with them. But they have to learn. It's a two-way thing. I believe that you have to respect within your heart to understand what it really means for some of those people there and how it was in those days. Speak about the families that have certain connection to certain areas. Not every family member have that. It's only one family member can. So if you're going to an area, you have to make sure that you talk to those people, and that people or person can give you the permission to go there. Not just me saying, I can go, you can go there because it's my family's. So there's certain people you have to talk to. Otherwise, you know, it's a hard thing to explain, but it happens in our society now. I'm sure it does to everybody else.
You want to talk to that one?
I'm going to talk a little bit about the IPA. And last Thursday in Gambanan, we had our IPA declaration. It was Wongud, Dambe Mangari, and Balangara, and Badijawi. So we had our declaration last Thursday in Gambanan, which is was good to now that we can go ahead and work better and do more things on our country. Recognizing different roles that women play in the cultural groups is like I say, we do have areas that men can't go to, and we do have areas that women can't go to, so that's the reason why we do play. We have senior women in every area in the Kimberleys that talk on women areas. So that's very important, and I'm sure we do see a lot of our young women here and now standing up and talking, like the likes of Marissa. You know, make us proud. It's not only just in the culture back home, it's everywhere in the towns and cities that our women are being involved in a lot of things. Some of the women choose to work alongside the men, some of the women who don't. Because of our cultural customs, we can sit and talk to certain people, and we can't with others. So that's the custom that we have right across. Focusing on the knowledge, language, and our youth. For some of our areas, I know from where I come from, we teach language in the schools. We also go out on camps with our young people. And in the Fitzroy area, I know they have a Yeoman project that when they take the kids out on country, for one whole day, they don't speak English. And it's a real good thing. So that's how we should be doing with our kids and young people that have good education but want to learn when they come back to country. Some of the women groups, ranges, they do seed collecting, and we want to see, like, when we do get new houses in the community now, we live on houses instead of little ngereis like I used to. We want to make sure that we have bush plants around there, not introduced plants. Using traditional knowledge, you know. For bush products, we have some bush products and medicines that we used before, and how we can make it work with the traditional, you know, culture and Western ways, how they can complement each other. So that's another thing. And then I said before, like working with the schools, we have bush ranges in the schools as well. So that's just, when I go back, I have to go and make sure that those kids go out and learn some of the things. Some of the ladies standing behind me, they have a real presence. We have a lady here who is a head ranger, and that's a real good thing for us to have our women standing up right alongside of the men head ranger, not just working under the men rangers, but having our women head rangers as well, because like I say, we do have a place here.
Like, I'm a teacher for all the kids from school. Like, in language I teach, and culture. Like, I take my daughter, Jessia. We teach them Junba, bush tucker, how to hunt, get right food, not the wrong one. So when we finish hunting, bring all the kids back to river. We make damper, boil the tea, cook the meat, fish. We let them make big fire, and then get all the fish, chuck them like a charcoal. Guana, we cover them up. The boys, I still teach them little boys too. Like, when we don't have men, well, I take boys and girls. And I take my daughter here, she follow me, take all the kids I talk to them with language, teach them language, talk on Wulan. That's the Ngarian language, Wulan. This Ngarian. Wabagodi, Ngalabanda. Waraj Bono. I say, cook your fish. You can cover Koana la ground, dig them ground, hot ashes, cover them up till it get proper cooked. When we see that thing bubbling, blood from the fire, is still not cooked, it's still raw. That's what I tell them. Teach them, my kids. In Ngarinyan, I teach them. Yeah. That's all I can say. Thank you.
So we're finished now, we've finished our time. So thank you everyone for coming and hearing our stories. I think it's probably past our time now.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you to all the women for coming up and supporting us too. Thank you.